Nigeria seeks $2 billion Chinese loan to build national super grid. Nigeria is currently in talks with the Export-Import Bank of China for a $2 billion loan to finance the construction of a national supergrid aimed at stabilizing electricity supply and revitalizing industrial growth. Energy Minister Adebayo Adelabu announced the negotiations earlier this week, noting that the project has already received government approval. The proposed grid will connect the eastern and western regions, linking key industrial hubs to ensure consistent and reliable power across the country. The initiative comes amid deep inefficiencies in Nigeria's electricity system. Over 200 companies, including Dangote Industries, have resorted to generating their own power through thermal and solar plants, producing more than 6,500 megawatts, a capacity that surpasses the national grid's effective output of 4,500 to 5,000 megawatts. The rise of private captive power generation underscores the private sector's dwindling confidence in the national grid. The government hopes the new supergrid will restore trust and attract industries back to the public electricity network. Despite having an installed capacity about 13 gigawatts, Nigeria delivers only a fraction to end users, leaving more than 86 million people without access to electricity, according to the International Energy Agency, IEA. By comparison, South Africa, with a much smaller population, operates nearly 70 gigawatts since taking office. The President Bola Tinubu administration has implemented several reforms to revive the power sector, including fuel subsidy removal and tariff adjustments. These measures reportedly boosted power sector revenues by 70% in 2024, with another 41% increase projected this year to reach 1.6 billion. Okay. When you see all of these figures, sometimes you just know where it's coming from. And I'm wondering when we will get it right when it comes to electricity in Nigeria. I mean, it's good to look out. We just saw what happened in Sudan. It's good to look out. And when we see private sector start thinking on their feet and beginning to think of excuse me, other means of generating power for their companies to run, then you know there's a problem. And when people have to resort to personal initiatives to fix problems that the government should naturally fix, it means two things can happen. They'll look elsewhere, or their business begins to suffer. And when the business suffers, of course, we know what happens to the economy. So this move is to ensure that all of that doesn't happen. It's to bring back the power that we are supposed to have. Because it will interest you to know that if you go back to many communities today, I want to challenge, if you go to your community, you'd still realize that there are places where they may not have seen light. I remember that my uncle was telling me the other day that they've not seen light where he is in 3 years. And so how do they get power? Generator. I mean, you don't want to talk about how dangerous the fumes from generators are, because sometimes you look at things and it's like, oh, it's so small, you cannot feel the effect. But it comes back to harm us. So I'm hoping that as much as I believe in fixing our problem, this partnership, this support from China is going to fix the problem. Even though I still have my reservations, can it truly turn the electricity challenge that we're facing in Nigeria around? Can the situation be changed for better? Or would we need to still keep asking people for help? Because this is like asking for help, if you ask me. Meanwhile, we have things. Why are we not utilizing our dams? There are various ways to get electricity. Various ways. Don't we have sun in abundance in Nigeria as well? So while we are thinking alternative of working with China to increase electricity, I want us to also think within, how can we utilize what we already have? How can we utilize the dams that we have to generate power for ourselves? How can we utilize the sunlight to generate power for ourselves? Because I do not believe that there should be just one source of electricity. It shouldn't always be a one-way street all the time. No, let us diversify. That way we do not have to suffer. Because go to those villages, go to those places, they're having to battle with getting electricity. But let's hear from Deborah. Okay. And this is while you talk, you just call it a wrap for us to get into the discussion segments.
So very quick.
Yeah.
every country borrows. There's no country that can stand on their own without help from others. We believe that, okay, we can do that. But now, moving from that, what do you use the money for? The money that you borrowed, do you actually really use it for the intent at which you borrowed it for? That's one. Two, the fact that we've been borrowing, this is not the first time we're hearing that Nigeria is borrowing. I know at the time I had to ask myself, there's a 20 years ultimatum for these borrowers that come to actually borrow. And when you borrow, there's a 20 years gap for you to pay. Now, a president doesn't sit more than 8 years. And you come, you borrow. I come and sit, I borrow. You come and start paying the other one, and you borrow again. And another person comes, 8 years. How many 8s do we have in 20? And you just imagine that when you now calculate everything, you just find out that we've been borrowing and borrowing and borrowing a lot, and nothing has changed. No difference. There's no difference. There's no change. But like you said, we'll keep that discussion because that's what we'll be talking about in our discussion segment. And we will be coming back for the discussion segment. But before that, stay tuned and as well, lay your comments on what we've said about the news, what you think about everything we've mentioned even before now. And stay tuned even as we'll be coming up with the discussion segment. Thank you very much.